Hey everybody, and welcome to the Wrestling Rewind here on Phoenix 92.5 FM, the True Penny channel, nerdtoknowmedia, and of course, the WrestlingRewind.com. My name is Darrell Connor. I am not joined by Dave Stevens, because Dave is still away, but I am joined by my co-host over in nerdtoknowmedia and former co-host of the international desk, Bryn. How are you, sir?
Oh, good man. It's been a while
It's
since
been a
we've.
minute.
It's been a hot minute
Yeah,
since we've been doing a show like this. So it's
absolutely.
great though. You know,
I think it's
hopefully it'll
a
be a bit more positive than our shows used to be.
Well, I found out what the problem was there, Ben. The problem was we were
Yeah,
covering current WWE
yeah, and not a lot of anything
and
else.
not a lot of anything else now, which is
You
great.
know,
You know,
uh,
um, like that was the problem of our show. And to be
who
honest,
knew?
well,
Who knew?
anyone who watches like The Observer or anything like that, those kind of shows, and they're just always upset, and it's like, of course you're upset. You're covering modern WWE. What are you doing?
Yeah, yeah,
You know. Um,
yeah. Well, in the case of Dave Meltzer and the Observer making a living, is
well,
the
still,
answer
you
to
know,
that
but
question.
I have to say though, like making a
Yeah,
living to be that angry all the time, they can keep
yeah.
it.
Oh,
Um, you
well,
know.
look. I mean, it could be worse. He could be Jim Cornette.
Oh, and he
You
doesn't. He doesn't
know?
even come on my radar anymore. I have no time for Jim Cornette at all. I'm like, whatever, man. Just go
I mean,
go away, you absolute troll of a man.
yeah. I
Um,
mean, his opinions on wrestling in modern day are very much a broken clock is right twice a day. You
yeah.
know,
Well,
it's
the
how I
the
feel
good news
about
is
it.
he's starting to be found out about it. You know, it's
Well, yeah. I mean, I think like people started turning on Jim right around like the undercurrent started pretty much around the time that he was running Ring of Honor into the ground.
mm,
Um, because like he um he had this very public um he has very public I don't know what you call it, like tiff with Kevin Steen.
yeah,
Um and like look, there were things that he was saying that I think, you know, the annals of time would say, yeah, he did improve those things when he went to WWE, and look where he is now. You know, because he did say like he needed to lose weight, he needed to get himself tidier and all that jazz. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, Kevin's like clearly your biggest draw right now.
yeah,
Why aren't you using him?
absolutely.
You know, and like the fact that he just couldn't see the value, the fact that like there was so many stories where like apparently Delirious really had to go like, no, 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 this storyline between Generico and Steen is really important and needs to be given time and thing. The fact that he couldn't see that is insane, and that he wanted to do things where like people will fight for a $50,000 purse, which just sounds stupid because
But
it's
see,
Ring of Honor.
but that's
Like,
the problem. It's he still comes from like Jim Cornette is Vince McMahon without the success and charm. You know.
yeah, I mean, but
And like
I mean,
I know all the bad things that people say about Vince McMahon are true about Jim Cornette, but he's not as successful because they come from the
yeah,
exact same time period, the exact same mentality, and all
I
those
mean,
things. So
yeah, I think it says a lot that like, I mean, for all of his faults, I think it says a lot that Heyman is still, you know,
well, Heyman was
like,
brilliant once you don't give him money.
but
That's
once
the
you don't
truth
have him
of
in
it.
charge, but when Heyman was in charge, because Heyman was in charge of everything
Yeah,
in ECW, and that's a major part of why things didn't go right. Maybe Heyman said that himself,
yeah.
you
Like
know, but
Heyman's creativity
yeah,
and willingness to adapt was never
an issue.
debatable, never an issue. It was just
No,
like, don't give him the money and keep and kind of don't let him do everything, and then
yeah,
he'll be fine.
no.
And
And
he's
then, you know, 2002 SmackDown speaks for itself.
But yeah,
Um,
the whole
like,
SmackDown 6 period
yeah,
speaks for itself.
yeah, that's what I mean.
Like
You know,
now the like but some people say, oh well, what about when he was running Raw? I don't think that's
yeah,
fair because he wasn't running Raw. Vince was running Raw. You know, and just giving
yeah,
out to Heyman.
yeah. Like, yeah, like I mean, I think I don't think we ever really got to see a Heyman run show
No,
outside of blips here and there.
yeah,
Um, but apparently he's doing great work with Roman now as a heel, which great. I think if I was still watching WWE, I'd be really happy with stuff like that. But I just don't. It doesn't interest me.
Look, it's
No.
I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I think we'll start there.
Yeah.
Obviously Sunday was Elimination Chamber. Dave come on, did his live reactions to it, and he was very happy about it. For me, I'm like, cool, man. I don't have a problem with the Miz cashing in.
No. It's
Um,
10 years since he won the title the
well,
first time,
well,
and
I just before you jump in, right,
sure.
with your logic, because that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's more just I want to just shine a light on the bemusement of wrestling fans that I have with them. Let's just put it that way. Because the tagline of this show is the only wrestling podcast now hosted by people who hate wrestling,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So obviously, the whole thing about watching wrestling is you probably shouldn't watch current WWE because you're gonna hate it, or if you watch it in a way that's not going to upset you because it's very easy to be upset by it. So we did a
Yeah.
show about it. We did a show for like
Yeah.
3 years. We were
Yeah.
just upset about it every week, and it's not healthy.
No.
So I was just watching some of the reactions to this. Right? Oh my god, I can't believe he did it. Vince makes no sense. This is crazy. He's not a real champion. Drew McIntyre should have won. Why didn't Jeff Hardy win? And I'm just like, oh yeah, one, this isn't real.
Mm.
Two, they had the Miz in the video package.
Yeah.
So if you didn't think he was knocking, sorry, they had him in the video package, right? As the last person. So WWE do, and that's the big criticism I have with this. WWE kind of told us what was going to happen literally before it happened. And once I saw
Where
him,
they've kind of buried the lead a bit.
yeah, it's like it's like what Michael Cole used to do when halfway through the match, particularly with the Undertaker, he'd be like, "Oh, and he's gonna win. The Undertaker has no chance here," and then that would be like 4 minutes before the end.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so there's
It's
that.
like, it's like in John Cena matches where like, how is John Cena going to get out of this one? Cue like 30 seconds
Yeah,
later, John Cena getting out of that one.
literally, like it is like burying the lead. So once I saw that, I was like, okay, well, we know what's going to happen here. 2, 3. This is what you do at Elimination Chamber matches. The first Elimination Chamber match ended, well, not the first, but the most famous cash-in ended the exact same
Yeah.
way, with
Yeah.
Edge coming out on Cena. I even said that in the preview show. I was like, this is going now. They did it twice, which was kind of annoying because it's like that's really cheap that you did the ending from New Year's Revolution twice
On the same
on
show.
the same show. Yeah, back to back.
Oh, that's not great.
No, it's not. So if you didn't watch the show, obviously Roman Reigns booked himself in that the winner of the first Elimination Chamber match, who was Daniel Bryan, would have to face Roman Reigns after the match, right? And Roman Reigns just came in and crucified the man, right?
Yeah.
But obviously that made sense. He's a super heel and he doesn't really want to work, so it was in his favor.
But what, like, does that mean that like there's going to be a different challenger for Roman at Mania now, or
yeah. So the
what's
challenger
happening?
for Roman is
Okay.
Edge. Because Edge came out and speared him afterwards, and he's like, "Hey, I'm challenging at WrestleMania." So that'll be cool, right?
Okay, cool.
But like that, the whole point of that match was literally just to build heat. That's all it was.
Yeah.
And the same with this one as well, right? So the Miz winning, it does loads of things, right? But before it does that, the fourth reason why this makes sense: the Miz is a heel, and you hate him now.
Yeah.
Do people not watch wrestling? Like, do you not
Yeah.
watch the show?
Like, what I would say is Miz won the title 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Under, like pretty similar circumstances by cash in, and then kind of just floundered for a while. Then, 4 or 5 years ago, he had that incredible promo on Brian, and since then it's just been like, okay, surely this guy, if he's talking like this, is going to get a main event slot again. And it's just been like waiting. It's just been like, okay, but it's going to happen. Like, if he's able, because he consistently brought that same level of intensity to his promos for a good number of years. So it's like, if someone's doing that consistently, it's only a matter of time before they it's only a matter of time before they become world champion again. It's in the same way that, like, um, if you were following Punk's career, it was only a matter of time before he became a world champion because he had that intensity in his
But
promos
I'm not even
for a
talking.
long
But
time.
I'm not even talking about
You know
that.
what I mean?
What I mean is, like, WWE's biggest problem now is they don't have characters. Well, they have loads of problems, but one of the biggest ones, they don't have characters.
Yeah,
Sorry, I forgot what show we were talking about. So there's
yeah.
loads of problems, and
Fun and interesting.
fun and interesting.
Remember?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And you know what? This was really cheap. And as I said, if they didn't, they shouldn't have done it onto
Yeah,
on
but
like both. But they did.
this is a thing that WWE has also done before, where they've done the same thing twice.
Yeah. So they shouldn't have done
And
that, and
and
it took away from it.
I would almost say that, like, again, like, I don't like it, and I wouldn't be happy about it. But if they did it twice in a row, guarantee you they did it like that, so that people would not expect Miz to cash in then, because they would have gone,
But
oh,
see,
but they've done a post match, a post elimination chamber match already. They wouldn't dare to do it twice.
well, that's fair
You know
enough.
what I
But
mean?
then why did you have the
And
video package with the last thing you see is his face saying, "I'm going to cash in"? Like,
yeah,
it's
but we've seen shit like that happen before.
man, we have. But the way they,
Yeah,
you really have to see it. Like, it was the most obvious thing in the world. It really,
fair.
like, they did everything short. The actually no, they literally did say this is going to happen. You
Mm.
know, um, so it wasn't
It's
even.
like that Heyman line. It's like, this is a spoiler.
Yeah, it's a spoiler. So it's like, okay, what would have been cooler, honestly, is if they didn't do it and did it
Yeah.
at WrestleMania, where he can get the big win at WrestleMania, like
Yeah.
Roman, like Seth Rollins did.
Just once, I want someone to win the WWE title, winning it the way that, like, this is
RVD
like an
did.
obscure. No, doing it the way that I'd love to see someone do it the way RVD did it before, but I'd also just because I'd love, like, I think it'd be super cheap, but I think it'd be a great way to get the title on, like, the most cowardly of cowardly heels,
Mm.
where, like, I don't know if you remember how Shane McMahon won the hardcore title from Crash Holly around the time of Judgment Day in 2000,
Was he asleep?
but he was asleep.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Like, I just think it would be. I think, like, I think it would, like, I just think it would be, like, a great thing to do with, like, a cowardly heel character.
Well, okay. Let's go with that for a
You
second,
know.
right? Is the rule that the briefcase entitles you to a title match any place, any time, anywhere?
Yes. It
Is that the wording?
Yes.
So then that would mean that any match is an ODQ match, because it's just, you could technically have the match in a hotel room or in the
Yeah.
parking lot.
Actually, I'm not sure if it's a false count anywhere situation.
See, that's the thing. It would have to be.
Uh,
It would have to be. So that's the only thing I would say, because it's like, if
Yeah.
it's if it the hardcore belt was pretty clear,
yeah.
but that's a cool idea. What they could do is, I think they wasted this with the Miz, because this is a transitional thing, so Bobby Lashley can kill the Miz and go in as the champion against Drew McIntyre, which exactly is going to happen in WrestleMania. That's the plan. The problem that I have is, it's not that it happened; it's that nobody gets over here.
But that's that's the criticism of WWE,
Like-
for years.
like, it doesn't-
Nobody
it do-
gets over.
It doesn't get the Miz over.
No.
It doesn't get Drew over, and
No.
it sure is, like, it's pretty much exactly what happened with Punk, actually, that you bring him up, where Punk was fed to The Rock to build him up for WrestleMania. The Miz is going to be fed to Bobo, Mr. Golf, at
Bobo.
Bobo. I want to play golf with my Bobo. Actually,
Yeah.
I wonder if they interview him now, would he be still talking about golf, or would he be talking about the WWE Championship?
Somehow, I think you'd be talking about the WWE
Somebody,
Championship.
please ask him that if you're interviewing him, or on Twitter. Hey, are you more excited about the golf game you're going to play, or being the champion? I need to find that interview, dude, because it's gold. Like, I have no idea what it is.
Somehow, I think you'll find that he's more interested in being the WWE champion.
I don't know, man. He was the TNA champion when
But I mean, dude, like, I mean, they're not the same.
they're the same to me.
I know they're the same to you, but, like, they're not the same in reality.
That's fair.
Like,
That's fair.
you know,
I
mean,
was horrified. I was just like,
I know.
I couldn't believe it. I'm like, you're wasting my time and
Yeah,
your time and the company's time. What are you doing?
yeah,
So I don't know,
absolutely.
Mr. Golf. Anyway,
Yeah,
so what's going to happen is they're gonna feed him to to Bobo,
yeah,
and then Drew will have to slay that demon, and then nobody will get over, and we'll be back to step one, to square one.
yeah. Pretty much.
Like, actually, here's one for you. Here's the one I did know. Right, what's the average age in WWE?
Wrestlers
Yeah,
are.
wrestlers. Yeah, among the top stars,
I mean, I would say late 30s.
46. What's
Yeah,
the average age in AEW?
among top stars.
Well, cumulatively, because their pool is wider.
Oh, they'd skew way younger.
24, 26.
Yeah, way younger.
Now, I know you're in shock, Bryn. I can hear it in your voice. Dara, you're giving credit to AEW.
Mm.
Well, I have to in that case, because that's what you should be doing. You should be building
But
stars.
the vast majority of their main eventers are all in like their mid 30s too.
Yeah. Damian Priest in WWE is 40.
Yeah.
Or 30, 36, 40. Like,
Yeah.
that's old. Like, it's not old, but he's not a young guy. He's not a spring chicken, He's
But put this into context though. Like, John Moxley, who's just the AEW champion for pretty much the last year, is turned 35 in December.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
that's it. Like, like Moxley, and I will talk about Moxley actually, because we will talk about AEW, because, like, again, I it's not that I hate them, I just hate them. I just hate Cody.
Yeah.
I just don't like him. I think he's there's many reasons to hate on AEW, but the blind hatred is not justified, except with Cody. I think he's the biggest problem, and we'll talk about the Cody problem, because you and I talk about Cody a lot and share memes and have a laugh.
Yeah.
But
like, I mean, what I would say is, outside of what I would say is, like, for me, like, the biggest problem with AEW that I have is the Nightmare Family.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, like, the thing that I like the least next to the Nightmare Family is so far away from it that it's really mean to say I don't like it.
Yeah.
When it's more that I don't like how it's used. The second worst thing in AEW to me is Team Taz. And it's not even because Team Taz is bad, it's just because Team Taz is badly used. They've had the same segment for 2 months and I hate it.
And I
don't hate it.
And I hate it.
They've had the same segment for 2 months.
But that's Taz in general, dude. That's Taz's MO,
But the difference is that, like, at least when Taz has been, like, a manager for other groups, or when he's been a wrestler himself, there's been differences. Like, he had, I mean, it wasn't like Taz it was like, oh, this is a segment where Taz wrestles Bam Bam Bigelow for the 19th time in a row. They had one match, and that was enough.
Here's the thing. Well, again, you're talking about ECW Taz.
No, but
I'm not talking about ECW. I'm talking about what happened when he went to WWE, when he went to not WWE, when he went to Impact.
Yeah.
This is the problem.
But when he went to Impact, he was Joe's manager for like 3 months, and then they scrapped that,
and then they forgot about it.
And they put him on commentary. But he also joined TNA right around the time where you didn't want to join TNA. So I would blame more of that on that than anything else. Whereas, like, this, it's more of a case of, like, Team Taz is interesting, but they need to stop feuding with Darby, because it's just so overcooked at this point. And the fact that, like, it's literally been, they call out Darby, and Darby's in the ring, and then Sting comes out, and there's snow everywhere, and you have guys in their late 20s to mid 30s running away from a 50-year-old man who can't physically wrestle.
Well, you say that, but he's going to be on AEW this week,
and it's going to be it's also going to be a very generous match.
I kind of hate this. I hate that Sting is on AEW. He should have He should have stayed in WWE. You don't even know what I'm going to
and
say. You don't even know
and
what I'm
not
going to say.
wrestled the Undertaker.
No,
And not
that's
wrestled
not
the
what I was
Undertaker.
going to say at all. You don't know what I was going to say.
It's one of 4 things that you could say.
Okay, what 4 things would it be?
Wrestle the Undertaker, wrestle Triple H again. Oh, what were the other 2? It's been a spell. Oh no, I'm getting this caught up with my Triple H bingo, which is have all the belts.
Okay, so what I was going to say, to clarify, I was going to say he should have stayed in the WWE. At WrestleMania, called out The Undertaker, and then they had an impromptu match that was like impromptu but not really, and a cinematic match. That's what he should have done.
That would never have been done.
Of course it would have been done. He would have had a boneyard match. It
Ever.
would have been great. You for real?
But it never, ever would have been done because
It's fun and interesting.
WWE. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
You
Fun
know,
and
like,
interesting. Can't be done in WWE. Yeah.
basically, and like, you know, I'd rather, to be honest, to be honest, it's if they're going to do anything, you're just like, I don't mind the idea of staying, being like a manager or mentor to
Same. Kind of.
to Darby. I don't mind that because like again, Darby has been built up to be AEW Sting anyway.
But it's
so I
kind of
don't
like
really
with
mind.
what Matt Hardy's doing. You know, jumping back and forward between Impact and AEW, where he's like the manager of the tag teams there.
Yeah,
I think that's great. I think it's a great role for him, and I agree. Like, I'll joke. Like, to be fair, I would have actually loved to have seen that cinematic thing, but they're not going to do it. So this is probably the best move for him.
After Matt's scary as hell head injury, I'm really glad that he's gone into doing managing.
It works better. You actually buy him. You buy him as a manager.
He's also doing Big Money Matt, which is like one of my favorite characters he ever created. So I can't.
Well, look. On that point, I was watching Jeff in the Elimination Chamber the other day, and that actually went through my head. I'm like, why are you still doing that? Like, just go to AEW and mooch money off the mark. You know, it's like you might as well, because like
become Brother Nero again.
Become Brother Nero. It's like, why not? Like, you know, they're gonna pay you more. You're gonna be able to do what you did in Impact, but you're gonna get way more money off Tony DeMarc. So you might as well. Yeah. You know, I'm never going to get an interview with AEW talent. I can't control the hate I have for the company.
It's. I mean, to be honest, like, I mean, I just find AEW very, very watchable, which is.
I don't know how. Like, I know you weren't there to actually you weren't there to defend yourself on the year-end awards. Did you listen to them?
No. Yeah.
And yeah, I did give you a bit of slagging, so I apologize, but not really.
No.
So yeah, like I was.
Well, it's not like I said that. It's not like I went around saying Cody Rhodes is the best wrestler in the world. So like.
Well, I never would have read that out.
No, I know you wouldn't have. But like.
See, it's like, hold on. Look, the reason why I don't like Cody is because there's many reasons.
He's disingenuous.
He also insulted Triple H, which wasn't nice. It wasn't a very nice thing to do.
That's where the hatred really began.
That's where it started. That's where it started. Like that's where I stopped being able to like watch AEW. That was the moment where I'm like, I'm out.
I saw that and I went, oh, Dara's not gonna like that.
That was the moment where I was like, I can't support this product at all. He's ruined it for me for life. Like, like no matter how good it is, it's like someone coming and punching your mom in the face. You're like, all right, well, look, no matter what you do,
it's also like, I mean, I remember him saying in an interview about that, it's like, oh, well, it's me showing that I'm gonna be more talent than executive or something like that, and it's like, that's not at all what that meant, but okay.
That's not what that's not what that meant was I have my own sandbox and I'm gonna make fun of you, And I wouldn't mind, like, it's not even Triple H's fault. Like, it's not like he's booking the show. It's that crazy old man who's booking the show.
Yeah, but it's also like, it's just not. I don't know. It just really, like, I mean, look, it didn't rub me up the wrong way or anything, but outside of going, it didn't need to happen.
No, I think
you know what I mean.
You know what it came off as, and all joking aside. Remember when
minor league?
It came off as Bush League because TNA, when they were TNA, used to do this all the time. You remember me at the Alamo?
Yeah,
Michael Hickenbottom. I was just like, I've seen this before.
I got like it just brought back like flashbacks of VKM.
That's what I'm
You know what
talking
I
about.
mean?
Michael Hickenbottom, meet me at the Alamo, and you're like, why are we
Yeah,
doing this? This happened
yeah.
13 years ago, and it wasn't good then.
But I mean, look, there's a way to do that kind of quote unquote rivalry thing.
Yeah, and
Well,
they've done it.
but
They've done it with New
that's
Japan, and they've done it
yeah,
with Impact, where
yeah,
you're all a part of the same thing, and it's
yeah,
respectful.
yeah. And like even if it gets disrespectful, it's more like playful jabs, like
Yeah,
Tony's public service.
they were great. They were great.
Like Cody and Nightmare Family is very much like the thing that I just don't like.
Yeah, I
Um,
think it's the weakest part. Like, don't get me wrong, right?
mm,
Impact actually had a free month
mm,
on their app, which is very good. I will have to say,
mm,
their app is very very decent, and they have a bunch of the hardcore stuff up for February. So I've been like
mm,
really digging that, and I recommend anyone who's listening check out the Impact Plus app. It's really good.
mm.
It's free on Roku as well, which is neat.
That's mad.
But
That's great.
I was watching some of the Jeff Jarrett stuff,
Mm,
and I like Jeff. He's a nice guy. Always been really cool to me and to the show and that.
mm.
But
It's the same vibes.
it was it was
Yeah.
exactly the same vibes, and it worked out in a certain way when Raven won and stuff like that. But it became a detriment very quickly.
Yeah.
Like, you're
Yeah.
watching the trio, and like week after week after week, and you're like, okay, look, he got better. He did get better.
Yeah.
But I think AEW has such a huge pool of talent.
Mm.
Like, okay, let's be real. When TNA started, it didn't have a massive pool of
No.
named talent. Like, when
No.
your headliner is Jeff Jarrett and Road Dogg,
Yeah.
come on, like. So
Yeah.
like, it made
But
sense.
they very quickly built
They did.
Ron Killings.
Yeah,
Very quickly built him,
yeah.
built AJ.
But what I'm saying to you is, at the very beginning, right?
Yeah.
But from the with AEW, from the very beginning,
Mm.
Jericho, the Bucks, Omega, list goes on and on and on.
Yeah. Well, in fairness to the Bucks, though, and this has to be said for them, they spent a year building a pretty good, they spent a year building a pretty good tag team division around them.
Yeah.
Without them holding the tag titles, which I think is commendable.
But what I
Um,
mean is, what I mean by that is, it's like the excuse of we haven't got anyone better isn't there, and it never has
no,
been, and
no,
it sure as hell is not there now. Like, AEW
yeah.
has probably the best roster in professional wrestling.
I think for sheer talent pool, WWE
Yeah,
still
okay, yeah,
has.
but it's not being used, dude. They're all in
No,
catering. Like,
yeah.
what's your man's name? Black, Alistair Black is sitting and catering all every
Mm,
week. So it's like,
yeah.
yeah,
Criminal.
okay, you have a roster.
Criminal.
Yeah, it's criminal. It's absolutely shameful that that's happening. But yeah, like, what by roster I
Like,
mean, you actually see them. It's like
yeah.
the way I.
No, absolutely. No,
It's like,
totally,
it's
totally
like
get
the way
what
I.
you're
It's
saying.
like the way I have a great action figure collection, but
Mm,
I'm pretty sure the kid that plays with them enjoys it way more than I enjoy my action figure collection, because
yeah,
they're in boxes on the
absolutely.
wall. It's the same thing,
Yeah,
you know.
absolutely. Yeah, like, I mean, I think like I didn't so much have an issue with I didn't so much have an issue with Cody winning the TNT title.
Neither did
Um,
I. I thought it was a good move.
um, but it did kind of like it gave me that same feeling of when John Cena was US champion,
Yeah, like, it's below him.
and no, not so much that's below him. That like John Cena did those open challenges,
Yeah,
and
best
Cody
work
did
of
as
Cena's
well.
career.
Best work of Cena's career,
Yeah.
but it's also Cena giving people really close matches, giving a bunch of young up and coming talent really close matches where they don't win.
Mm.
I felt like it was very much the same thing of going like, there's just something about this I can't really get beyond. Now at the same time, we got Eddie Kingston out of the deal, so I can't be too disappointed.
Is it the disingenuousness of it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
That's it. Like, but that's everything with Cody. Everything is
like,
everything is disingenuous.
and I mean, this is why it's like, because I keep hearing people go like, "Oh, but this is all building to him being a heel." It's like, yeah, sure, that's why it's been going on since the company started for 2 years now. He's just been playing the long game, okay, you know,
But
because
where's the proof of it? It's like, where's the proof of it? Because he comes out, cuts a similar promo every week, acts as the authority figure, then doesn't, then has a
well,
match.
no, he acts as the authority figure when it suits him
Yeah,
and doesn't when
and
it
doesn't
suits him.
when exactly. That's the point. It's like,
And he
which are
plays a
you?
heel when it suits him
Yeah,
and doesn't when it suits him.
yeah,
And it just like the whole thing is very irritating and
yeah.
very inconsistent. And
Like, I think the best work of his career was the broken, the damaged Cody Rhodes.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
That was phenomenal. I also
absolutely,
loved him as Stardust. I thought he was great, and he was used really well
yeah.
then.
The breaking point for him with Stardust was when his dad died, though. By all accounts,
Well, look,
because and look, a parent's death is always going to
yeah,
have
it's
some.
rough. It is rough. Like, I don't like.
Uh,
I can only imagine what that's like. Thankfully, I haven't
yeah,
experienced it, but
yeah.
I don't know how much of that I believe. To be honest with you,
But that's also when you really stopped seeing him. There seemed to be like he seemed motivated to be Stardust for a while there, and then that just really seemed to dissipate quite
but
quickly.
like my question would be, right, okay, fair enough, fair enough. I'll give him that, and probably that's what happened.
Mm.
But what has he done since that equals that?
That equals Stardust.
Yeah, like the work he's done. Like, he had a pretty good match in NWA with Nick Offerman, or whatever, Nick
Nick
Aldis.
Aldis.
Nick
Nick
Offerman is
Aldis. That was
Ron
the
Swanson.
that was the. Are you talking about from All Out or the one or All In or
Yeah, yeah, all in. Yeah,
the second match? Yeah.
the second match. Yeah,
No, those matches were good. He had a great. I thought he like again. It's kind of redundant to say, but he had a great match with Kota Ibushi because no one escapes having a
who?
great match
Yeah,
with
who
Kota
doesn't have a good match
Ibushi.
with Cody Ibushi? I'm pretty sure you could
Like,
throw a mop in the ring and it'd probably have a 5-star match.
have you seen his matches with Yoshihiko from DDT?
I
Because
have
they're
not.
great.
I have not.
No, again. I'm not sure if you know who Yoshihiko is.
I don't.
It's a blow up doll.
Oh,
Yeah,
well, there you
it's
go.
great.
Case in point. Case in point.
you know, but yeah, like again, like no one escapes a great match with Kota Ibushi,
Hmm.
in the same way that no one escapes the Master Lock. But yeah, he had a great match with Ibushi. But again, he's playing heel. I think he's a natural heel with what he does now.
Yeah.
It's that's kind of like the frustration with it. I think is that like I wouldn't mind a lot of the stuff he does if he was actually playing a heel character because like I'm like look he in AEW he's given I want to say like 2 or 3 promos now that have been excellent babyface promos
But
said by
he's not a
and like
baby face.
he's but this is the problem
Yeah.
like they are like credit where it's due excellent babyface promos he's always had the ability to do it.
Okay, here's my question.
Well,
Here's my question. Also, I realize how much I cut across you. I don't mean to. I'm
yeah,
sorry. See, Dave doesn't do that. Dave just stops me.
yeah,
It's weird. It's been a while since we've done a wrestling show
it
together, and
is,
I
yeah.
forgot how much I do it. Okay. So here's my question. Here's my
Yeah.
question. What is what would be a good trajectory for Cody in AW? Like, as someone who watches the product more now, I can't stomach it because obviously,
Yeah,
so I watch it infrequently. But for someone who watches it, right?
yeah,
What is there for Cody to actually do?
do. Well, see, the great thing is that like he set up a lot of one of the best things that he did was he set that stipulation for himself where it can't be a world champion,
Mm.
you know. But here's the great thing: is heels lie,
Yeah.
So like, and I wouldn't. What I would like to see happen is that like he would have like he would finally turn heel within the next 3 months, and then they can kind of do this thing where he's building momentum. Like he's got this giant entourage of the Nightmare Family, and I don't understand why any of them are there except for Dustin.
I don't
Um,
even know why Dustin's there.
like I get why Dustin's there because he's his brother, but that's like the only thing that makes sense. Do
Yeah,
you know
but
what I mean?
they've been brothers so much that it doesn't really.
What,
I don't
what,
give. I don't. It's so
what
disingenuous.
I what I mean is that like it makes the most sense because it's the one that requires the one that
What about
that only
Brandy? Do you still like
requires.
Brandy?
No, I never liked Brandy.
Yeah, no one likes Brandy. I don't know why she's there.
Like,
She's terrible.
well, I mean, like Brandy, like again, I have no
Also, does
idea
Cody
what
still have that
she's.
that manky neck tattoo?
Yeah.
Oh god.
Oh yeah. No, because it's a real tattoo, dude.
Yeah, I know, but you would think you'd get that covered up very quickly
No,
or edited out or
no,
something.
no.
See,
Because
that's it. Every time he comes on, I fast forward or stop watching.
yeah, I mean that's fair, absolutely fair. I wouldn't blame anyone for doing it for anyone that they don't like watching because why life's way too short to watch wrestling you don't want to watch.
Yeah.
But what I would say is like,
You know what's annoying? That's
um,
why I missed all the Brody Lee stuff as well.
mm,
I was like, oh my god, like he's literally wrestling the one person I can't stomach being on
you could
television.
you could definitely watch the match where Brody beat Cody because it's a squash match.
Ooh, I will watch that.
Yeah, he
Mm.
beats the absolute crud out of him. It's great. But like, yeah, the neck tattoo is terrible. One of my favorite things was that like there was I remember when he got it, there was an interview done with Brody straight after where someone asked like did she know that he was getting it. She didn't say it, but she pretty much alluded that she didn't know and that she wasn't too happy about it, which
Uh,
I you know.
like the only time that would look good, it's like with when Randy Orton got the tattoos, and there was a good point
Mm,
where he started and he looked cool, and then it
mm,
got really weird for a
yeah,
while, and then
yeah.
it sorted itself out eventually when he got more money to kind of like fill it out. But for
Mm,
the time being, it's just like Jericho's manky tattoos that are like his
yeah,
dad tattoos. It's like, what are you
yeah,
doing? Stop getting the
yeah,
manky tattoos. They were fine the way they were.
yeah, absolutely. Like I think um but yeah, like as I was saying, for like I think Cody just turned heel.
Actually, there is
You know,
there is that really good picture. I will
mm,
post it on the community tab and probably on the social media,
mm,
where it's like Cody Rhodes and then it's like my dad is Dusty Rhodes and it's like superposed it
mm,
with the manky image. It's the best
yeah,
thing in the world, and I'm like, that's great. You know,
yeah.
that's Cody's gimmick.
But yeah, like I think, um, because like I don't get why the Gun Club are in Nightmare Family.
Yeah, makes no
I
sense.
I don't get why there's like young guys in the Nightmare Family. I don't understand why if Cody's so great, why does he need his coach to be out there with him? Do you know what I mean? Like, and I know
Mm.
it's Arn Anderson and everything, but if he's so great, why does he need him? You know,
I don't know, man. Like it comes off like,
like I mean, if he was a heel, it would make sense to me, but he's not,
but if
so it
if it
doesn't.
was a heel, if
Yeah,
he was a heel doing this, it would literally be the very thing he said it wasn't going to be.
yeah,
It would literally be what what did he call it? The authority was, where he
yeah,
come out and cut these long promos that everybody hates.
yeah,
So was the whole point of moving from WWE so you can just be Triple H?
yeah.
It makes no
Basically,
sense.
yeah. Like I saw as well that like the Bucks not too long ago got a great cheap shot in on Cody,
Oh,
where like um where it was like they were talking about like because you know that they had their match with I don't know if actually you might not know this anyway because you don't watch that much, but they had their match against FTR for the world for the tag titles, and they put up as a thing on as a stipulation that they if they don't win they're not gonna challenge for the tag titles ever again. And then the next week on their show being the Reef, they're going, "Oh God, it's like what we've done if we lost?" And I think it was Matt said like, "Oh, I had a perfect idea," and shows him a picture, and it's two, it's two it's like a tag title belt with TNT written on it,
that's
and it's like,
brilliant.
"Oh man, that's brilliant!" Like,
That's brilliant. I
you
love
know,
it. Yeah, but
like
at least AEW are willing to kind of make fun of themselves in that way, and it is kind
yeah,
of has that realm of it. But
yeah.
I don't know.
But I mean, like wrestlers are able to be creative. I mean, for the most part, storylines make sense. Like there are, again, like there's always going to be like inconsistencies and retcons and whatever, but like like I would say that like bad as much as I don't like what they've done with Team Taz, as much as I don't like what what they're doing with Cody and Nightmare Family, Hangman Page's character and his character arc is so good to watch.
Yeah,
I have never been this emotionally invested in a character, as far as I can remember. And I think that's brilliant. Moxley's doing the best work of his career. Eddie Kingston is involved prominently, which
Well,
I
but
could only have ever dreamed of.
but that's what I wanted.
Pac is doing great.
That's what I wanted to kind of
Yeah.
go into there. In the we have about 20 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
or 15 minutes. This AEW exploding barbed wire match thing.
Yeah.
Uh, I look. First of all, Dave loves this kind of stuff because he's a big deathmatch guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
You and we've watched a few cage deaths and stuff like that, but we're not. This is not our wheelhouse,
No.
so we'd kind of be on the same page here. I'd imagine
Mm.
the lights out match from a couple of years ago was pretty intense.
Yeah. Until you notice like where they kind of cut their corners and stuff.
Yeah. Well,
You know.
they weren't legit trying to kill each other, right? But
No.
what I mean is,
Like and bits where there's barbed wire, we definitely weren't barbed wire.
yeah, exactly.
You know.
Like it wasn't just where they put sheets of glass and then they roll around in it like they would on the indies, because it's cheaper than gimmicking it.
Oh yeah.
But my question, I suppose, is like, do you have any interest in this? Is this something? Well, I know you do because everyone does. It's just that thing where everyone's really intrigued. Even the metrics on this channel, people are like, when I was talking about it, it's clicks on it from people who I never thought would click on it because they're like, what? What's an exploding barbed wire death match?
People have, but when you think about this, there's been a whole generation of Western wrestling fans that have never seen that sequence of words put together.
Yeah,
Do you know?
I would
And
say even
that's
in Japan because the last one was in 2002.
Yeah,
In Japan, yeah.
Like, um, like there was there's a couple of things that are great about it. Like, first of all, it gets Terry Funk talking, and he's like, "Oh, it's great to see that there's still a tradition of exploding death matches," which just
Okay, so here's
it's
what he said.
heartwarming.
Here's what he said. Right, I have the direct quote here.
Yeah.
Just talked to Mr. Funk and he's doing okay. He just wanted to wish John Moxley and Kenny Omega the best to look in their exploding barbed wire match. He says it's a good way for AEW to wake up Vince with a kick up his arse, and he wants you to
Yeah,
know that he's pulling for you.
yeah,
Well, there you go. It makes Terry Funk happy.
it does, yeah. But like, the thing that was great was
If Terry Funk wasn't sick, he'd be there in that too. He'd
Oh,
show up and take a couple of spots.
absolutely.
Yeah.
He'd be the guest referee.
He'd be in it. He'd be like, I want to go
Yeah.
next.
Uh,
I'll referee.
it's my time.
It's my. I can.
It's my turn.
I can. What's it? I can. I'll referee, but you have to.
Yeah.
You have to throw me into the barbed wire at some point. I've
Yeah.
never seen another man who has so disregard. Like Foley was close, but like
Yeah.
Terry Funk just has no regard for his body, like
No,
ever,
zero regard.
none. Like
I mean,
at any point.
like I mean, it's a real tight competition between him, Foley, and Sabu.
Well, Sabu is different in a sense. Like he'd do something
Because
for.
Sabu makes more mistakes than the other two do.
He hurt himself from botching, but the moves he did at least made sense to hurt someone. Like
Yeah.
he's gonna do this crazy spot, but in theory it would end the match. But he'd mess it up and banjacks himself. Mick Foley
Yeah.
would do it, would hurt himself to gain a small advantage. Terry Funk wouldn't care and just throw himself off anyway.
Yeah.
It's like,
Oh man, like there's, but like there was yeah, like there's also a great quote from Moxley because he was interviewed and like he basically said like um that he felt intimidated because he was going, well, like this is a match that's like pretty much famous because of Terry Funk. And he's like, that's like that's like big shoes to fill. And he's like, he's saying as well, like, he said to Tony Khan, like, you better, it's like you better make sure that I'm actually able to do as much as I want to do here, because I'm not in the business of over promising anymore. Because like, that was the thing. Is like that was one of the major issues he had when he was working in WWE, was that like they put him in positions where they kind of rely on the fact that like Moxley had a history in death matches.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
Kind of promised death matches and then not really,
because they're not going to do it.
No.
Like, I'd be amazed if they don't get some sort of fine for this.
Oh, they probably won't. Well, they got fined for the lights out
match. Like like don't get look. I like hardcore wrestling. Anyone who watches this channel or listens to the show knows that I like hardcore wrestling. But my fondness of hardcore wrestling is WWE Attitude Era,
Yeah,
right? Because it's fun and
plunder.
yeah,
It's just plunder.
it's plunder. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I also love the street fight with Mick Foley and Cactus Jack. I think that's phenomenal, right?
Mm.
And that's about as far as it ever really needs to go.
Al Snow fighting himself.
That dude, that match is unbelievable. Come on,
Yeah.
come on.
I'm not saying that unironically. It's a great match.
It is a great match.
You
But
know,
what I mean is what I mean is it doesn't need to go this far. Like there's a Type A death match from ECW where they legit punch each other with broken glass.
Yep.
Why? And I can understand. Was it Moxley was talking about it, and he said, "Oh, he says, Triple H believed in barbed wire when Cactus Jack put him over in a barbed wire match, when a street fight." And I understand that. Where I'm like, okay, it sucks that your hands are tied that much, but on the other hand, it's like, what are you gonna let your 8 to 10-year-old watch? You're gonna let your 8 to 10-year-old son or daughter watch, an Extreme Rules match, or are you gonna let them watch a barbed wire exploding death match? Not us, not what our parents did with the child neglect. We shouldn't have been watching it. But I mean, like nowadays, what do you like as a parent? Like, what would you do? Honestly,
Like, I mean, I would argue that this is the reason why I think that not everything should be for an 8 to 10-year-old is what I would say as a response to that.
fair. Okay, and that's fair. But what I mean is WWE specifically is.
Oh, totally, absolutely,
and that's the company he was working for.
Yeah, but at the same time, they also had him promising that he was going to do stuff, and it's also a case of when, it's also a case of even without going into something like with what was that match he had with Jericho, where it was in a steel cage with weapons?
Asylum or something. Yeah.
Even going with something like the Brock match, where he had loads of ideas for stuff to do, and there was a feeling of okay, well, maybe he'll bring it to more of a hardcore place, and then Brock just didn't want to do much of anything.
Yeah,
and it's
I can understand. Yeah, I can. I do have to give them. I do have to give them props. They're millionaires. Yeah. They're making more money than you and I will probably ever even fathom, right? Or most people listening would never fathom. And they're willing to go in and wrestle in barbed wire with C4, around the ring.
This is one of those things that I would very much err on the side of caution. We don't know if they're going to go as far as going C4.
Well, no. Moxley pretty much said if he wants to do it properly, you have to do it that way, because Terry Funk went on record and said no, it's C4.
Oh, fair.
So
fair enough.
And I had millionaires, this is Roman gladiator Colosseum kind of thing, man. This is we're just gonna set people on fire, We're no better than the Romans. We're really not.
There are many a wrestler has likened modern day pro wrestlers to gladiators, saying that they were in the business and making money and they would work a fight, but there were it's especially if they had two gladiators who were basically going to be champions. It's there's no fucking way.
Yeah, it's
two of them are gonna lose out on income.
I just can't get over. And there is a video on that. There is a video on that on the channel, that we did with Corey many years ago and the lads in Rome. But I can't I don't get what Moxley is missing. Would Renee?
I think he's just getting I think he's just a bit lost in how much freedom he has.
But would Renee not be like, hey, maybe don't do that?
How we have a daughter?
Yeah, it's we have a kid. Maybe you shouldn't do this. And that's what I'm kind of shocked by. I'm like, you're a millionaire, dude. You don't need to do this. The Tony Khan not sit down and go, listen, man. Maybe don't.
Yeah,
but it just makes no sense. It's cool. It's wild. It's irresponsible.
but at that point, it's like, well, Tony, you're the one who said we should have an exploding death match.
Yeah.
So, like, you know,
Look, for me, I see both. Like, one, I'm going to watch it, and it's probably going to be great. And I have nothing but respect for Omega, who doesn't have to do this either. Kenny Omega's a phenomenal wrestler, and he's going. I'm going to be the most hardcore wrestler I can be. It's like, okay.
but see, the thing I really like about it is that, like, character wise, makes a lot of sense from, because he's basically, it's the same thing with like him doing the lights out match. He's like, I'm going to prove that I'm able to beat Moxley at his own game, and this is basically him doing the same thing again.
Yeah.
You know,
It's so crazy though, man. Like, on one hand, it is cool. It's extremely cool, but my thing about it is, eventually, what are we going to see them do? Are they going to like what are they going to do?
a scaffold match.
Oh, jeez, and it's like Paul Heyman said this though. All this stuff is, and this comes off as passe. This comes off as like retro, because it really is. Like, it's really not of its time. But I'm not gonna say I hate it either. It's probably gonna be great, But I half expect Terry Funk to come out and start wrestling the match.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't be an exploding death match without Terry Funk coming in.
No, like, but I don't know, man. Like, it's
like, I mean, look, I'm excited for it. It's like, I mean, it's just one of those things where it's like, it's just not done. It's one of those things where, like,
so
they can basically go, there's no one else, there's no other company in America that has the guts to do this match.
So here's my question.
It's like when TNA did their terrible electrified cage match.
Oh, yeah. Let's not bring that up, because then they'll want us to cover it again. So listen, my question on this, just to finish it out. Will this be a thing that's done every year?
Exploding.
Yeah, we'll like, okay, so there was a time a long ago when a Hell in a Cell was the biggest match you could have, right, in WWE and in wrestling in general, and then it became a yearly thing. Will AEW see the number of this and go, oh wow, we need to do our annual lights out match, we need to do our annual exploding barbed wire match? Because this is what Impact did as well. Impact did 2 barbed wire massacre matches. Yeah, one was good, one was not.
But Impact also only did a handful of them, and they weren't like a year in, year out. It's not like they became Monsters Ball.
Yeah, Monsters Ball was always good though, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, Monsters Ball is just pure plunder.
Yeah.
I would say that, like, this is probably something that we probably won't get many of. Right. I would not expect to see that we get many, because I think, like, when it comes to, like, AEW is really weird about gimmick matches, because, I mean, we've only had the one steel cage match as far as I'm aware so far. We've only had, I think like the upcoming ladder match is like the second, maybe third ladder match. It's the third ladder match we've seen,
which is good to see, because too much of a good thing is a bad thing.
Yeah, but but we're not, like, I don't think we're bereft of gimmick matches. It's just that, like, they're really, like, they seem to be just like showing a lot more restraint by doing, like, the gimmick, like, a lot, like, we get a lot more gimmick matches where there's a little bit more, I don't know, like, they're like atypical ones, like the Mimosa Mayhem match between Jericho and Orange Cassidy, which is great fun. But, like, that, like, that was one of them. But, like, that's a match I would never expect to see again. But
what about the Cracker Barrel match?
Yeah, again, I don't think we'll see that again. Like, those are weird, like, the esoteric match types.
AEW seems like see, this doesn't really fit in AEW for me. That's what's weird about it. Because AEW is like WCW. Like, it is WCW. It doesn't fit. This would fit in TNA more, but it wouldn't fit in Impact. This is a weird kind of outlier that they have. Yeah. But yeah, I suppose you're right, man. Like,
it fits in the context of what their lights out matches are like.
Yeah. But
like,
see, this
really
this isn't lights out. This is an official sanctioned match.
Yeah, but see,
which is weird.
That's the other thing that I'm a bit, like, confused about, because like, we literally have not seen another lights out match since Moxley and Omega, and it's like, okay, well, that's how they're going to do no DQ matches, which I thought was a great idea. But I'm like, but I think it's also the fact that I think they did three in their first 6 months.
Yeah,
which is a bit too much. But now we haven't seen one in over a year, so it's like it would be cool to get another one again, you
Yeah,
know.
I think I think
Um,
it's the best way to do it as well.
but
But
I think those matches they lend themselves to being like a blank slate because it's like, well, you can do anything in those kind of matches, you know.
yeah.
Um, it's gonna be one of those matches types that like I would expect to be a hell of a lot of fun in whenever their game comes out.
I hope they. Well,
Um,
hopefully it won't be like the ECW barbed wire match. Remember, where it's just the ropes.
oh, stop! That'd be terrible. But
Well, look,
like,
we're gonna have to leave it there because we are
mm-hmm.
coming to the 55 mark. Unless you want to go into overtime, Bryn, I'll leave it up in your hands if you want us to do.
eh, would be nice to do a bit of overtime, you
All
know.
right, okay. Guys, thank you very much for joining us on the stream. If you're there, do leave something in the chat. That'd be great so we can respond to those. For everyone listening on Phoenix 92.5 FM, we'll be back next week, same time as normal. But what are you doing? Go over to nerdtoknowmedia.com and get the streams. Get all the shows around Spotify, iTunes, all that good stuff as well. Bryn, how can the people reach you who are listening on Phoenix FM?
So they can reach me at CasperCast on Twitter, and that'll do it.
Okay, we're gonna keep going on the stream. So we'll bye to everybody on Phoenix FM. Yeah, so like, it's weird, man. Like when you're talking about modern wrestling, there
Yeah.
really is the big names. But what do you feel about, like, because when we were covering this, there wasn't this cross promotion thing. Everything was kind of like self-contained. So what do you feel about the, I don't know.
The quote unquote forbidden door opening.
Yeah, that's that. I'm looking for a better way of putting it, but it is kind of like that door is open now, where
Yeah.
Kenta shows up, and they're able to do stuff for New Japan and Impact. Impact are killing it, but they're also having this shared universe. It's weird. It's something that I do have to hand it to AEW. Like,
and then there's also they're working with NWA a little bit too.
absolutely, yeah. It's just one of those things where like we've never seen this ever.
No.
This has never been done.
No, it's great. Is the short answer to that. I think it's great. Like, in my opinion, wrestling is at its best when places are able to acknowledge each other. Like it's one of the things I always really enjoyed about and I know he gets a lot of flack, but like it's one of the things I always really enjoyed about Matt Stryker's commentary is that he would go, "Oh, that's a very world of sport move," or he'd go, "Oh, that's a move Misawa made famous," and you just go like, "Oh, there's actually like a bigger well of lore here." You know what I mean? And it's just nice kind of seeing that go a bit further where you're going to see different champions show up in different places, and I just think I think the more you see of that, the better it is. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see if they open up the door to either CMLL or AAA or both of them.
Yeah, well, I foresee that happening. I think the only place they're not going to do, and Moxie talked about it, is I don't think we're going to have a WWE AEW crossover.
Yeah.
I don't think that's something that will happen, and I think that's with good reason.
Absolutely, but that's
But that would be cool. That would be cool.
It would be cool. Like, I mean, I think when it comes to like on the brief thing of like WWE taking part in it, WWE don't need to. Do you know what I mean?
Well, see,
like,
I don't think any of them really need to. Like, Impact Wrestling became like the best wrestling product of 2020 purely by just being its own thing. AEW is there and existing by itself, but I think this adds a more kind of fun element to it. And the problem with WWE is it exists in this bubble.
But I think they all win.
They do.
They all win.
That's the thing, man. Like, okay, well, let's just go back a bit. When the last time this happened, I was wrong. The last time this happened was when Ring of Honor and TNA had a sharing agreement.
Back in the early 2000s.
Yeah, that was the early, like the last real time it actually happened. And then WCW obviously had a deal with New Japan. WWE obviously was like running ECW.
TNA had a weird relationship with New Japan where they liked each other and then they didn't, and then they did,
and then they defended belts that they weren't supposed to defend.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now they don't count.
Or they defended belts that it wasn't possible for them to defend.
Yeah. But what I mean is, like, what I mean by that is, I suppose, it's like,
Hmm.
with WWE existing in their own universe, are they hurting themselves? That's what I want to kind of dig into. Are they hurting themselves?
Um, that's one way they're hurting themselves, is what I'd say to that. Like, I
Okay,
mean,
how so?
um, well, like they're hurting themselves because I think, like, look, I think anything that can increase fan engagement is worth doing, and this is something, and like, and again, fans love when things come. Fans do tend to love when you open doors rather than closing them.
Yeah, like I see it as kind of
You
like
know,
it kind of feels like they're embracing the MCU kind of thing.
mm,
You know,
it's very much that kind of thing.
where it's
Like, I
like
mean,
it's a wider world. Like for example,
mm,
well, WandaVision now. I don't know. You know, we talk about it
yeah,
on our other show, Nerd to Know basis, but you know, it's kind of like
it's when Pietro shows up. You
yeah,
know,
it's like stuff that you never thought that's gonna happen. No, not even Pietro shows up. When
mm,
Fox Pietro shows up, you're like,
yeah,
what?
yeah,
You know, that's kind of like what it was when Kenta showed up. You're like, what is Kenta doing here? You
yeah.
know, and what would be cool is if like, you know, Moxley shows up as John Moxley to
Oh,
fight Roman Reigns, to fight Seth,
oh man, yeah, that'd be great. That'd be so good.
but
Like,
not as Dean Ambrose,
yeah, as
like
actual John
as
Moxley.
John
Yeah,
Moxley, and
yeah.
that would break the internet.
Oh yeah,
Both would do
absolutely. But
huge buys.
it would. This is what I mean. Like, I think it would actually, I think it would create more interest.
Yeah. Actually, you know what you
You
do?
know,
Know what you would
yeah,
do? You would create a new wrestling boom.
yep,
Honestly, because
that
that's how
would,
you do it. That is because it's this, you know, and it won't happen. As much as we want it to happen, it won't happen.
no.
But wrestling
It's
needs.
not going to happen for a lot of reasons. I mean, WWE, frankly, is doing fine without something. Is doing fine financially without fun and interesting things happening on the screens.
Look, it needs to go beyond
It's,
money. It needs to be for the love of it, which is why when Triple H does take over, I think we will start seeing stuff like that because you know they did it themselves with NXT. NXT was kind of like the band-aid,
you had Jushin Thunder Liger show up on a takeover.
right?
You know,
That's what I mean. Like
mm,
NXT is what WWE will become when it's allowed to become it.
yeah,
And as you said, Justin Thunder Liger shows up. Finn Balor
yeah,
was allowed to go back and just be Finn Balor and do the Bullet Club
yeah,
stuff. You know,
yeah.
it's just like I think if anything is going to happen, we would see that kind of crossover. It's just we need to get through this, quite honestly, horrific time we're in with being a WWE fan. I wouldn't even class myself as a WWE fan anymore because how far removed it is from a product that I actually enjoy.
Yeah, but it's just. I mean, there's just nothing about what they do. Like, put, you know,
And we're not being
I'll
negative,
put.
honestly, because
Yeah,
we're not being negative. We're just having a
yeah.
discussion,
Put it this way. Like, so they've made Roman heel,
which
and
is
he's
great.
doing this thing. They're doing this thing where he's the tribal
Tribal
chief.
chief, the head of the table,
Yeah,
which they said so many times on Sunday.
but see now there's the
So
problem
many
that
times on Sunday.
they they take a basic idea, and then it's just like it's at the point now where I hear about these things and I feel bad for guys like Michael Cole who have to just consistently churn through, because you know that like you know from seeing things on the network where Cole's calling without anyone in his ear,
It's great.
and he's so very good at doing
When he did the Cruiserweight Classic with Brian,
that was Morrow and Brian.
oh,
He did.
he did something with Brian. He did
He did.
something with Brian.
He did the UK.
That was it.
The UK tournament with Nigel.
Nigel, sorry, that was it. Yeah, that
And
was fantastic.
yeah, yeah,
That was
that
like
was. But he did Beast. I think he did Beast for Beast from the East as well.
that
Where
too. Yeah, that's
and
what. Yeah,
they're great. You know.
like that's the
And
problem. Like, but here's the thing, right? Oh God, I'm really sorry I cut you off, Brent. I really
yeah,
am sorry. Uh,
you're not sorry at all.
no, I am. You just have to, you know, just
But like what I'm saying is that he does a very good job of it. But you know that Vince is in his ear, and people can go, oh, but like it's like you wouldn't be this kind to other people. It's like no. We've known that Vince is in people's earpieces
for
because people
years.
have talked about it.
Like Mick
Like
Foley talked about it. Why he just one of the reasons why
yeah,
he left.
my favorite story that I only found out recently was like Punk talked about what it was like to do commentary, and basically sat down, sat down and it was like a 3-man booth. It was him, Cole, and Lawler, and they'd be doing the show, uh, and like he'd make a comment or whatever, and he'd get screamed at, and Vincent starts screaming at him. So he elbowed Lawler, who was next to him, and said, "Where's the volume on this thing?" So he turned off his earpiece so that he could do the show with. So you could just call the show with the two of them, and Lawler did not even know that that was possible. That you could just do that, and like he was going like, "You're gonna get in so much trouble for that," and nothing ever came from it, you know. But like,
You know,
it's just like he was just said like he said like that. I really wish more people did that, you know.
but it's that kind of, I suppose, like when you do hear the feed, and there's been documented history of this where they air the actual
Oh
feed,
man,
and Vince is
yeah,
just shit. Like there's one actually that my heart broke. It's Michael Cole responding to his
yeah,
question or something on it, and
yeah.
you're not hearing the other side of it, but you're just
But you're
hearing
just hearing Cole,
go,
yeah,
yes, I'm sorry, sir. Yeah, okay, okay.
yeah.
You're like, oh my god, he's getting absolutely the riot act.
Crucified,
Oh, he's getting like
yeah,
filleted, like,
yeah.
and I'm like, and I just, how could you work like that? Like,
Well, I mean,
why would you work like that?
I like
That's
have a
the thing.
because of stuff like that. I had newfound respect for Cole because of it, and it also became really understandable to me that he would make so many weird mistakes when it came to calling people's moves and stuff,
Mm,
because it's not at all what he's focused on.
no,
Because because Vince is in his ear, like,
but here's one for
you
you,
know,
right? Like, not now because I do think he is past it.
yeah,
But when you watch a wrestling match, one of the great highlights of this show is going back and watching the Attitude Era
mhm,
shows. And I know people are like, oh, the Attitude Era. No, listen,
yeah,
it's really good. But
mm,
Vince JR calling the matches, right?
mm,
You get chills. You get chills, and he does the same thing. And obviously Vince is in his ear too. But there is that certain level of trust where it's like he's gonna know what he's doing.
yeah. Well, I mean, like you saw the drop in quality because um Vince lost respect for Jim.
Yeah.
Um, but like right around, like basically up as far as um I would say WrestleMania 17. JR JR is perfect.
WrestleMania
You know.
17 is the greatest wrestling show of all time.
Yep.
It has the greatest
And
wrestling team, commentary team of all time. Paul
yep.
Heyman and JR. Like,
Yeah.
well, what I love about it is like Paul Heyman is completely unhinged. He
Yep.
just doesn't care,
Yeah.
and it's amazing.
Yeah.
Up until the last 4 minutes of that show, it's the pinnacle of wrestling. The
Mm.
last 4 minutes let it down a great deal because of what comes of it. But if you guys haven't seen it,
But it's pretty
watch
much
it.
the moment when WWE jumped the shark.
Yeah, it's when wrestling probably should have ended. It should have been the season
Well,
closer of WWE
yeah. It's
because
like the series
the
finale for
serious finale. Because like
WWE.
WrestleMania 17 is the greatest wrestling show of all time. It will never be equaled.
Mm.
It can never be equaled, and it never should be equaled
No.
because it can't be. You can't do it. And even still, even with that said, it ends on one of the worst notes ever.
Mm.
You know,
But
uh,
it's so funny because people like it really is like marked as like the point where fans lost interest,
it's
where a
no,
lot
it's
of
not where
casual fans
fans lost.
lost it.
Yeah, exactly. It's the moment when culturally wrestling died,
Yep.
as in like mainstream culture. Because after
Yep.
that, it stopped. Good, dead,
Yep.
finished, finito,
Yeah.
fin,
Dunzo.
dunzo. But you're right, man.
But
Like,
yeah,
Tiger one.
but like I think like I mean I think it's so interesting though because like we're at a point now where I like I'm getting to a point now where I'm actually more interested in wrestling now
Mm.
than I have been in a very long time, and it's but it's just funny because like the only thing that I'm really not interested in, the more I hear about, the less I'm
Is
interested,
WWE.
is WWE.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
and like
that's understandable. I think, if,
you know,
again, one of the worst things in the world someone could do to me right now is make me cover WWE.
yeah.
You could
You
not
see,
pay
like
me enough money to do it.
I think the thing that like really stands out to me though is that like for every idea they have, good or bad, you can find a version of it that exists in the world right now.
Mm.
Like, um, I don't know if you ever saw any of the Raw Underground stuff.
Yeah.
Now, to me, the Raw Underground idea is a good one.
It
It's
is.
just executed weirdly,
Not executed
but
weirdly, just not committed to.
hmm, but if that's something that listeners here really enjoyed, I absolutely recommend doing a quick search on whatever your preferred search engine is for Josh Barnett's Bloodsport and find those shows.
Mm.
They are so very very good,
But
and it's the exact same idea, but it's just committed to so much more aggressively.
like, as I said, the enjoyment that you can have, it is possible to have enjoyment as a wrestling fan, and we'll still
Mm,
cover stuff here from time to time because it's big events like the Rumble or the Road to WrestleMania. I think everyone's still going to watch that, but
mm,
like, that's one thing I really enjoyed about Impact being so open now. It's a fun wrestling show that you can just sink into, enjoy, and that's it. AEW as well is the same for people.
yep,
With WWE, it is that sense that, like, this could be the best thing in the world, but it's not. There are other things out there that do this
yep,
so much better,
yep.
and I'm wasting my time because it's a lot of time, dude. It's a lot
Yeah,
of time to
it is,
sit
but
down and watch
they're
it,
they're demanding a lot of time from people.
and you're not getting
Like,
anything from it.
no,
Now, I would have to say, Chamber was like 2.5 hours. Fantastic,
well,
brilliant.
that's great.
I think that's great. But here's the, isn't that
Yeah,
wild that we're sitting here and going, hey, less is more. Surely more
but,
should be more. I never thought, like,
yeah,
when I was 8 years old, that I would want less wrestling.
yeah,
You know?
but yeah, but you see, like again, it's that thing of like, um, sitting through an hour and a half of wrestling is not a huge commitment for
No.
anyone. Sitting through 3 hours of wrestling is,
Torment.
you
I'm
know,
pretty sure there's a circle of hell that they make
yeah.
you sit down and watch Raw on repeat.
But and I mean, like as much as like people
Pretty
go
sure
on,
Virgil. I'm pretty sure Virgil was like, not that Virgil, but
but
classical
even
Virgil was like
it
is
doesn't
over
even
there.
matter if it's good or bad wrestling, because like as much as people go on and on about New Japan and especially Wrestle Kingdom, I can't watch Wrestle Kingdom in a single sitting.
Oh, see, that's one thing about WrestleMania that I really like that they're doing, which they won't do next year when the virus passes, but
Mm,
they should do it. Two nights. That makes
mm.
sense. Make it an event. Sell more tickets. Sell more merch. Buy
Yeah,
my book.
but it's what New Japan's doing that too.
Yeah,
New Japan did it first.
it's too much. So there is a thing as too much wrestling.
Yeah,
Like, I remember going. I
absolutely
remember going
is.
to the tapings with Gary for
Mm,
Raw or SmackDown or whatever, and you get there at 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock actually, in reality,
yeah,
and they'd have 2 hours of wrestling, a dark match, then they'd do
Velocity or something.
velocity or heat or something like that, and then they would tape the show, and then you have a dark match. And it's like 11 o'clock. You've been sitting there for 6 hours, and you're absolutely
Yeah,
exhausted by the main event. You're like, this was too much. Don't get me
yeah,
wrong; it was cool to do and cool to see and appreciate it, but man, you have to just think about people. And that's one thing
yeah.
that this virus has actually done. It's now given the opportunity to remove that and really put a focus on it. And that's when you get Impact really shining, AEW really shining, and WWE being exposed.
Mm. But it's also like, I mean, I think
We'll have to
whatever with
we'll,
the yeah.
we'll have to say though,
Mm,
WWE's a lot more watchable in the Thunderdome than with the weird. Like, even though I love the weird kabuki theater, weird soap opera thing with the no crowd, I did appreciate that a great deal. But watching women's matches in particular is really awkward when there's no crowd. Really awkward. So yeah, I do appreciate that. It sounds more like a wrestling show, and you can buy
yeah.
into a lot more than when there's no sound. So sorry,
I
Brent.
like what AEW has done for their audience actually, where like they like the front row is all the wrestlers and
Yeah,
talent,
that's great.
and then like a safe sociable distance is where their audience is. I think that's great. I
But
think
I
it's a
think
great idea.
piping it in is okay. Like, I had to say the way they do it is pretty good. Like, it's a lot better than when it started, when it was just the background
Mm,
noise from 2K19. It actually
yeah.
was the background noise from 2K19. Um,
Mm,
whoever controls and obviously they have some sort of system where they push buttons and stuff happens.
yeah.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. So whoever's doing that, I do have to give them credit. But again, WWE production is always going to be great.
Mm,
But
yeah.
yeah, Brent, that's going to do it, man. I think
Yeah. Absolutely.
this was a lot of fun. I apologize for cutting across you. I know you're saying Darry
That's
do that
good.
all the time, but I do.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to plug before we? Also, loved having you on the show, dude. This was great.
Yeah.
This was
It
really
was nice.
fun.
It was nice. It was nice doing a wrestling show again for the first time in ages, and having it be a nice having it be a nice
Experience.
positive, like mostly positive conversation.
Yeah.
Um. So yeah, look, in terms of like things to plug, I can't think of anything right now, but
But we do a
what I
show
will
tomorrow.
say, we do have our show tomorrow on nerd our show Nerd to Know basis tomorrow. Um, if you are looking for a good alternative streaming service to WWE, I have two to recommend. One is IWTV, which is pretty much has all of your independent wrestling needs with hundreds of different promotions to look up and watch shows from. And you also have New Japan World, which is where you get New Japan from, because New Japan is fan bloody tastic for absolute match quality. And it also has like full English commentary for most of their matches. So highly recommend both of those.
Awesome. And guys,
They also just made Okada versus AJ Styles free on YouTube. So
yeah, watch
I
that.
highly recommend watching that match.
Heavily plugged. That's a great. That is a
Yeah.
great match. Well, AJ Styles in New Japan is just unbelievable. Anyway.
Okada.
Oh, Okada anywhere is amazing. But yeah, he was also in Impact for like a day at one
Yeah, for
point.
a cup of coffee.
Yeah,
We
it
don't like
wasn't.
to talk about
Yeah,
those
it
days.
wasn't good. It wasn't good. But it did
Um,
happen.
he wasn't making rain those days.
No, he was not. He was not.
Uh,
But yeah, so I would say go over to the Impact Plus app, download it, watch those hardcore matches because they are a lot of fun. And yeah, go over to Nerd to Know Media, subscribe to this channel and the Nerd to Know Media channel for a lot of more content. Yeah, and we will be back here, of course, every week as normal. A lot of guests coming up while Dave is away. And again, Brian, I want to thank you so much for being on the show, man. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Happy to do it. Talk to all of you guys soon.
Absolutely. So, see you later, guys.